It's my honor and pleasure to be here with Rabbi Naomi Levy, who is the author of many books such as Hope Will Find You and To Begin Again. And her most recent one coming out this September is Einstein and the Rabbi, which I'm going to ask you about. Rabbi Levy is the founder and spiritual leader of Nashuvah, a groundbreaking Jewish outreach organization in LA. And I'm really fascinated by this idea. Can you share with us what inspired you to start such a new model?
You know, I started in the rabbinate as a congregational rabbi, and I was fortunate enough that my synagogue was on Venice Beach, just a block from the ocean. Right. And every Shabbos, people, because we were the kind of synagogue that was right a block from the Venice Beach, we get a lot of foot traffic. And every Shabbos, I would just watch people come in, and I could count how long they were going to stay, and then they'd be gone.
Right.
And I wanted to understand them. I wanted to know the outsider. And then I was fortunate enough to write this book, To Begin Again, and I was on a national book tour, and everywhere I went, in bookstores, people would tell me that they had quit on Judaism, that they would come to see a rabbi at a Barnes & Noble, but they wouldn't have come to see me at a temple. And I just became fascinated by the Jewish outsider. And in my mind, I thought that unaffiliated Jews were atheists.
Right, of course.
And in my just talking more and more to unaffiliated Jews, what I got was that, at least anecdotally, these were people who were deeply spiritual, who were searching for paths to God, and who weren't finding it in traditional Jewish models. And really, Nashuvah was born out of a desire to reach unaffiliated Jews who were spiritual seekers.
Beautiful. So how does this model differ and kind of shatter the model of the sort of prior traditional community model?
First of all, the word Nashuvah means we will return. And the goal isn't necessarily to shatter anything. The goal is just to reach the majority, who are the majority of America's Jews now. Upwards of 70% of America's Jews are unaffiliated. And I just was with just a small circle of people, just maybe 8 people around my dining room, were saying, let's just put something in the air. Because I felt I didn't want to look back on my life as a rabbi and say, I didn't even try. When we're hemorrhaging Jews, both through unaffiliation and intermarriage, and just we're losing them just out of not touching them, not sparking them in some way. So that's really how Nashuvah, sort of what sparked it. And the kinds of things we started to do, not necessarily to break any model, but to open the door, is to say, first of all, we're putting something in the air that's built for the outsider. It's not been created for the insider. It's created for the outsider. And the door is flung wide open. There's no barriers to entry. Everybody is welcome. There's no membership. There's no tickets. There's no dues. Everyone who comes to Nashuvah is automatically a member. Everyone. And another thing that we started to do, probably already about 10 years ago, was to do a live webcast. First, just for Kol Nidre.
What kind of numbers are you reaching there?
This past year, we had 70,000 people.
Wow.
We partnered with JewishJournal.com. We had 70,000 people live with us online from all over the world. And, you know, when it was first suggested that we do something like this, I worried about it. I thought, are we encouraging people not to go to shul? Is there something wrong with it? And then I thought, wait a minute, what about all the people who are in hospitals? All the people who can't get to shul for whatever reason? Why not offer something? But what I didn't count on was just the outpouring from people, the sense of yearning, the sense, you know, the letters that I get from everywhere, from, you know, South America to the Far East to countries where people say we're doing this, what we're doing is illegal. Even participating online tonight is illegal. People tell me, Rabbi, if you could see right now my daughter sitting on her grandfather's lap in hospice, and this is his last Yom Kippur, you'll know what a mitzvah you're doing.
Wow.
Or people saying, you know, my father died 2 weeks ago. And if I were sitting in a shul, I would just be alone.
Right.
But all of a sudden there's a live chat going on.
Right.
So it's like people talking in synagogue.
Interesting. Yeah,
so people suddenly
right.
like responding, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm just offering you. And then all of a sudden people go, anybody here from Philadelphia? Let's all get together for breakfast in Philadelphia.
Right.
And suddenly you realize just the sheer numbers of people we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's really been an amazing experience.
So how does the prayer experience differ?
The prayer experience in Yeshiva. So the first thing is, for quite a while now, I've been someone who's been writing prayers. Mm-hmm. So I realized when I was speaking to unaffiliated Jews, one of the things they talk about is I can't understand Hebrew, or even I can't read Hebrew, and the English of the prayer book, the idioms I can't relate to it. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I did was to retranslate the whole Siddur into prayers that are inspired by the Hebrew. But I can't say that, honestly, that they're not loyal translations. They're prayers inspired by the Hebrew. Right. And then we put together a band with, in LA, you can get the top session musicians. And these people are incredible. It's an interfaith, interracial band. And we set the music of the prayers to everything from soul to gospel to country to rock and roll to show tunes. And we just try to make the service as spiritual, soulful, dynamic, sometimes ecstatic, sometimes heartbreaking.
Yeah. And how is prayer interwoven with social justice?
Every service we do is linked to a day of action in the community, whether it's working with families in South Central LA, or working with tree people to plant trees for communities that never see fresh fruit, whether it's working with moms who are dealing with addiction. We're always doing something with either with the environment or with the local community, partnering with other organizations. Yeah. And so many people who come to Neshuva are either leaders or founders of organizations, which is amazing.
Yeah. So based on your success, what do you think is the future of synagogues versus this more open model?
I think that synagogues are doing an amazing job. Yeah. And I think that rabbis are aware, because I sat on the executive council of the Rabbinical Assembly not that long ago. My colleagues were all aware that the Jews model is probably not going to be long-lasting. Right. And that we do have to come up, and we're always searching for ways to reach out and to grow. So I think that synagogues, just as Neshuva has been reaching out, synagogues are searching for those ways to bring Jews in, and to bring unaffiliated Jews in, to bring interfaith Jews in. Right.
So my last question for you then is, this book coming out, was it Flatiron Publishing?
Yes.
Okay, Einstein and the Rabbi. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I've been thinking for a long time about the neshama. I know you have a daughter named Neshama, the soul. And I came upon a quote by Einstein that just shook me to my core. It was a quote that he had written, saying that a human being is part of a whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He perceives himself as something separate from the rest, but that's really just an optical delusion of his consciousness. And as I was sort of meditating on this quote and trying to figure out where did Einstein write it, it turns out he was writing to an Orthodox rabbi. Wow. An Orthodox rabbi who had lost a child, who had reached out to Einstein for comfort, to Einstein. And the whole book becomes a meditation about the soul, and how the soul, through the soul's eyes, we can learn to see our connection to all things and to all people, and to see the unity and the oneness that's been eluding us and evading us our whole life long.
Wow. Wonderful. And that's out in September?
September 5th.
Okay, September 5th. So that actually inspired my really last question, which, since you mentioned the Orthodox rabbi, how did you transition from Flatbush and from Borough Park, essentially, Orthodox school system, to where you are today?
You know, people, they ask me that all the time. Mm-hmm. Was your father a rabbi? And I say, no, my father was in the shmata business.
Oh, okay.
But he was my rabbi.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to become a rabbi from the time that I was 2 years old. Mm-hmm. And I always knew I was going to be a rabbi. Even though I was living in a community that you know, probably thought that my feelings or my dreams were mm-hmm. sheer blasphemy.
Right.
It's something that I always knew was part of my being and part of my calling from the youngest age. Mm-hmm. And I never really believed that it would happen. I had to hide it. You know, I hid it through high school for sure. Yeah. But when I was in my senior year of college, JTS voted to admit women into its rabbinical school.
And you were the first class of women.
The first class of women to mm-hmm. enter.
Yeah, Mazel Tov. So you're really shaking things up in how we think about Jewish community and spiritual models, and certainly you did also through your own personal journey as well. Make sure to check out Rabbi Levy's wonderful books. Keep up the wonderful work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi Shmuly.